It's well known that these plants need higher temperatures to thrive and that they'll simply wilt if you leave them outside in the cold. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at how to care for these plants outside. Keeping a snake plant healthy. Temperature. Since snake plants are tropical plants, they're used to high temperatures. If you live in a particularly warm area, you won't have any trouble growing these plants outside. They prefer temperatures from 55 to 90 Fahrenheit. However, during the winter time, temperatures drop below 55 Fahrenheit. This is why some gardeners, even when growing them outside, keep them in large pots. That way, they can easily take them inside once colder weather starts to dominate the days. Watering. You should only water them once the ground has completely dried up. They have water storage roots and will absorb and store what they need. Overwatering them can cause root rot, and the entire plant could wilt. And this is something that very often happens with new gardeners. Lighting. These plants need that golden middle when it comes to lighting. You shouldn't keep them in direct, strong sunlight. This will dry the plant out. However, keeping them in an area that's too shady will stop your plant from properly growing. Surviving the winter. You'll need to take your snake plants inside during the winter if the temperatures are going to drop below 55 Fahrenheit. There's no way that they can survive that, so it's best to put them in pots and take them inside. These plants certainly don't want you to keep them in the dark, as they like the light and they'll start wilting without it. Additionally, it's important to note that nothing changes regarding watering just because you took your snake plant inside. Water it every 6 weeks and no more often than that. Snake plants do much better during the summer than during the winter. During the summer, all you have to do is put them in a partially shaded area and let them rest. Diseases and pests. The most common problem with snake plants is root rot. This is, in almost 100% of cases, the fault of the gardener, as it often happens that gardeners overwater their plants. In case you notice root rot, and that would be impossible not to notice, it's best to let the plant dry out completely after you remove all the dying leaves. The plant will recover on its own. How do you strengthen a snake plant? These plants need light. Typically, a snake plant would need at least 8 hours, but it will not complain if you bump this up to 13 or more a day. They also need good, well-aerated, fast-draining soil. If you need to, you can remove the plant from its pot and repot it in a good cactus soil mix. What zone is snake plant? The common snake plant will tend to get very unhappy when temperatures drop below freezing, so you can only keep these outdoors in zones 7 and above. Some of the South African species may be able to tolerate slightly lower temperatures, so you could probably get Dracaena hyacinthoides to survive in zone 6 if you wrapped it with cloth in winter. What soil does a snake plant need? These plants grow naturally in woodland undergrowth in Africa, where these conditions are met. To make a good snake plant soil, buy any good potting soil that contains sand and perlite. The sand in succulent plant soil formulations helps with drainage. Snake plants have water storage roots. Then the soil can dry out for a few days and you can water again. When to trim a snake plant? Trim them when they get too big, or when a leaf is broken, split, wilted, or got scratched by the cat. Is snake plant toxic to birds? When we refer to snake plants, we are normally referring to Dracaena trifasciata, formerly Sansevieria trifecta. This plant produces a long flower that smells nice at night and attracts moths if present. The plant then produces little berries that look like asparagus berries. I have watched birds eating these, but in my experience, it did not kill them. However, I do not let Dracaena trifasciata flower outdoors in my area, as it has an incredible potential to become invasive and it is not indigenous to where I live. If you live in an area where you can grow this plant outdoors, rather remove the stalks after they flower and before they set seed, as this plant has the potential to become an invasive weed of great destructive capacity. How tall will my snake plant grow? The vast majority of these will not grow taller than a few feet, except when they flower, when you can work on 4 to 5 feet. There are some tree species, and that look very different from the common snake plants and normally have different names. Conclusion. Remember that snake plants love the outdoors, but only if temperatures don't drop below 55 Fahrenheit. These plants are sensitive to overwatering too, so you don't want to water them more often than once every 6 weeks. It's also best to take your plant inside during the winter as they rarely survive it. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.